When a game release fails, the question eventually asked is, how obvious was the writing on the wall? And how early? With Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, there are so many potential points, but I'm going against the grain and saying that it was immediately after its announcement. The first game commercially bombed. The number of bugs and issues were two of the main reasons behind its failure. The announcement of a sequel in March 2019 came completely out of left field, raising questions about how ambitious and complex role-playing experience, featuring fast-paced combat and new ideas, would ultimately take shape. Nevertheless, a branching narrative lasting 25 to 30 hours that would force tough decisions alongside improvements to the most dated aspects of the original were promised. It would even launch in 2020, a complete pipe dream in retrospect. There was still some hope surrounding the project. The premise of a thin blood turned vampire after a sudden break of the Masquerade was intriguing, and plans to feature combat inspired by Dishonored sounded promising. Even if the gameplay didn't fully land, the idea of exploring a rich story and immersive world within that setting still held potential.
I am old, Sheriff, and of far stronger blood than your generation. Do not mistake me for your prey.
Unfortunately, things did not unfold that way. Following its delay in August 2020, development faced significant upheaval, and the project's direction became increasingly uncertain. By now, you know the drill. The Chinese Room, better known for narrative-focused adventure games like Still Wakes the Deep, took on development duties. Everything about the project was envisioned as per the developer. You were now an elder vampire who lost their memories. There were now 4 clans instead of 5, which eventually became 6 due to backlash against 2 being locked behind DLC. Almost every aspect of the project showed early signs that things weren't headed in the right direction.
Hiding in the dumpster. Said they know.
Please! Please!
Where is he?
Who? What do you mean?
I will not ask you again. Where is Benny?
We found his haven! The auto repair shop! His kid's there! Max! Please let me go!
Now that it's finally out, Bloodlines 2 is the quintessential example of everything that a sequel shouldn't be. We're not just talking about how the world is represented, the lackluster RPG mechanics, or even the combat's lack of meaningful depth. The lack of weapons to equip unless you steal them from other enemies using telekinesis, no inventory menu, the lack of skill checks or meaningful progression, and well, the list just goes on. Perhaps the worst part of all of this is that choosing a discipline based on its corresponding clan no longer feels special. It doesn't lead to different builds or fulfilling different vampire fantasies. As if all of this wasn't bad enough, the mechanics governing the Masquerade are almost laughable. In the original, it was a gameplay system where you tried to blend in with humanity as a whole, balancing it alongside your humanity. If you break it too many times, then vampire hunters will take you out. But in Bloodlines 2, violating the Masquerade results in instant death. Even if you kill people without any vampiric powers, it's like the game world is replying, so you've chosen death, and meting it out accordingly. Unless you manage to run away within a short window or play stealthily, in which case, go wild. Humanity is no longer a thing either, in case it wasn't obvious. Some believe that the Chinese Room was completely ill-suited to the task of creating a Bloodlines sequel. A developer with no real experience crafting an RPG of this scale was a mistake from day one, and well, I have to agree. However, even the things that it wants to own, like the combat, are full of issues or executed poorly.
Bearing gifts, I see.
I keep my word.
A rare quality these nights. But something I always look for. In exchange for a job well done, I offer you just that. A job as the new sheriff of Seattle.
Sheriff?
Oh my.
As part of the package, you get your permission to stay.
If it's going to offer a vampire-based adventure, then it needs a world that doesn't feel utterly barren and offers memorable moments. Remember that whole bit about taking inspiration from Dishonored's combat? Why not lean into immersive sim aspects some more and offer multiple ways to complete missions as opposed to the same objectives again and again? Why not have choices that actually mean something? Even if you tried to enjoy the game as its own separate entity, it fails in that as well. Looking at all of these design directions, it becomes all the more clear that the Chinese room was just there to complete the project and, well, call it a day. However, I doubt it even had enough time to ensure a proper level of polish. Even at launch, players reported issues like the game not launching, or populating with NPCs in certain quests, or key binding not functioning. There's no FOV slider, you can't turn off the HUD, motion blur is a constant headache, you can't even manually save.
Benny, all I need is one excuse.
God, we'll need more than that.
While the team has offered workarounds and is working to address issues, this is far from a high-profile RPG in 2025. It ultimately comes down to how the project was handled. Were there points where development could have taken a different direction? Could a clearer vision or stronger foundation have led to a better outcome? Maybe the release announcement came too soon before the team had fully defined what the game was meant to be. Development troubles can happen at any time. However, the decision to ship this and charge $60 for it, knowing full well where it lacked, was an absolutely disastrous one.
More anarchs seem a mite upset. I wager you're not here to play nice.
Get ready! Do better!
Shit, son of a bitch!
Unfortunately, despite the Johnny Silverhand-esque Fabian in his head, I do not see Bloodlines 2 having a Cyberpunk 2077 style redemption. Band-aids could be applied over various issues, but implementing major changes to combat and role-playing requires a lot of time and resources. And right now it feels like this game is trying to save face before the developers move on from this mess. Bloodlines 2 will suffer much like the original, a failure that no one will want to touch because it didn't sell well. This time, there isn't much of a community left to fix its mechanics, systems, atmosphere, making the possibility of a follow-up even less likely. Perhaps the biggest tragedy is that despite being a failure, it should have at least tried to do something memorable. Even in failure, there should have been something far more explosive to remember it by, rather than fading into the shadows with a whimper. The project seemed troubled from the very beginning, and it would have been a shocker if it turned out to be anything else.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at Gaming Vault, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.